Hi, I'm Pam, and I just wanted to say happy 4th of July. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because this is a very special day, and we should really celebrate, not just with fireworks, not just with good food and parades, but it has a special meaning for us, a godly meaning, and we should take it to heart. You know, in the very beginning of our country, even before it had begun, we were at odds with the power that was the mightiest in all of the earth at that time, the British Empire. And they were our government, but they were unfair and unjust. And there were men and women that were strong with the belief of the worldview, a biblical worldview, and they knew what was important, and they churned and burned in their hearts for liberty, for life, liberty, for property, and for personal responsibilities. These were the things they desired for where they lived and all the people around them, and they were willing to give up everything to go forth for freedom. And George Washington was one of those men, and he knew that we had to go and fight for liberty. He knew that we had to break away from England. Now, there were a lot of colonists that didn't want to disrupt the status quo, didn't want to interrupt their life and what was going on with them. Even though sometimes it was very harsh, like with the tea tax and all of these things, they were willing to submit to that just for the status quo, peace at any price. But there were other men that did not want that they wanted liberty. They wanted to be able to pursue their God and not be restricted in any way with religious oppression. Washington commissioned, and there's tradition that he himself, out of his own funds, paid for these ships. But he commissioned 6 ships that would run against the British Navy, that would try to interrupt the flow of weapons and soldiers to this country, muskets and everything that was needed. And so he commissioned these ships, and he knew that his strength, and the strength of the colony was nothing compared to the strength of the British forces, the British Navy. And so he commissioned these ships, and this was the flag that flew upon these ships. It was an appeal to heaven. He said, we must appeal to heaven. We do not have the strength to overtake these forces, but we must appeal to heaven. And today, folks, we are in going through some of the same oppression, some of the same things, some of those that are in authority that are trying to oppress and to change the very lifestyles that we have. So we need also, at this very time, to appeal to heaven, to bring forth righteousness once again in our land. Because we do have a foundation of righteousness for this country. No matter who says we don't, no matter what the history books are trying to change, the revisionists, we do have a foundation of godly righteousness. Let me show you, even in this, when there were many voices that wanted to have their say when making a constitution and bringing all the country together to have a form of government, to have a form of government that was never on the earth before. And so there was differing opinions, and there grew to be an ill will, just like we have an ill will all in our country today. There was a growing ill will among the participants in the convention. But Benjamin Franklin, one of the least religious of them all, he stood up and gave a speech, and this is some of what he said. It said, in the beginning of the contest with Britain, we were sensible of danger. We had daily prayers in this room for divine protection. Our prayers, sir, were heard, and they were graciously answered. Have we now forgotten this powerful friend? Or do we imagine we no longer need his assistance? I have lived, sir, a long time, and the longer I live, the more convincing proofs I see that God governs in the affairs of men. We have been assured, sir, in the sacred writings that except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain to build it. Look around us today. Have we in vain built things that are not right, that are not true, that are not righteous, that are not good? He goes on to say, I therefore beg leave to move that henceforth prayers imploring the assistance of heaven and its blessings on our deliberation be held in this assembly every morning. And do you know that was the turning point in the convention? There came in a wind of unity, a working together to do the good for the country. It was, as Washington noted on his ships, the appeal to heaven that won the day. Again, we are called by the scriptures in Isaiah. We are called to be repairers of the breach, the ones that bring forth again the foundations that have been broken, the desolation of the cities, and the repair of the streets to dwell in. That means we go back to the very start. We can't neglect so great a blessing that the Lord has given us in the foundation of this country. It was the enlightenment, the great awakening that brought forth that biblical worldview at that time. We must get down on our knees this 4th of July. Thank God for his provisions, his blessings, but ask for the awakening again so that we might once again be a nation of righteousness, believers in the Lord God Almighty. And just like they said in the Revolutionary War, no king but King Jesus. Happy 4th of July. Let us ask for the assistance of heaven with an appeal to our God. Bless you. Thanks.